Aloha, everybody. Welcome to Tiki Tuesday Talks. Excited to be here. I have a new shirt, which I'm very excited about. Looking forward to a great session, kind of getting into the nitty-gritty on the technicalities of labeling, transparency, and the like. We got an all-star cast here. Let me introduce them right now. Say hello, everybody.
Aloha.
What's going on? Where's everybody calling in from?
Connecticut.
Birmingham.
Baltimore.
Los Angeles, California.
Oakland, California.
Right on. Welcome, everybody. We'll go over a little bit of the run of show here for a second with you guys. So, topic today, transparency and alcohol labeling. We're excited to have Bailey Pryor, founder and CEO of the Real McCoy, as well as Nathan Hazard, National Brand Ambassador for the Real McCoy, talking about kind of some of the things that have been going on in labeling, where we're going. We're going to also have a great cocktail coming out of that. A little bit on agenda. So, aloha. Chat box and questions on the right side. If you guys have questions, send them our way. If you're viewing on Facebook, we'll see them there too. We'll kind of interject. Sharing the event in Crowdcast as well. You can do that over on the right. Feel free to host a watching party, etc. We want to get the word out about what we're doing here and some of this great content. Presentation-wise, 30 to 40 minutes. We'll have a cocktail session 10 to 15 with a little bit of a topic. And then 5 questions with the Tiki fam. A little background. So Bailey, founder and CEO, a man of many hats. So he produced a number of films for PBS, particularly one on the Real McCoy. So kind of near and dear to his heart in building into that. I'm sure he's going to touch on it. Has won a number of Emmy Awards, 17 to be exact, 17 nominations, 7 awards, and produced 7 feature films across a variety of platforms. So super excited to have him and his expertise here. Nathan Hazard, National Brand Ambassador, co-founded the Coconut Club, LA's premier Tiki-inspired supper club. Super cool. Never experienced it, but I need to in a normal universe. And has been published across a variety of awesome books. I'm sure you're aware of some of these. So without further ado, we will move it over to Mr. Pryor to have a chat here. How you doing, sir?
Good. How about you, Pete?
Not too bad. Not
Excellent.
too bad.
Hope everybody's having a great day.
As good as it can be for being stuck inside.
Yeah. We're not in New Jersey right now. It's bizarre.
Indeed. Yeah. It feels, I'm getting the dispatches from my parents on Crab Cake Hotline and the like. And it's pretty sad not to be there. I did get to the beach for a couple days and ate a ton of fresh seafood on a dock. So at least I had some semblance of normalcy there.
Nice. That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Tell us about the lab you got back there. What's going on in there?
Oh, so we're doing a discussion about, today we're going to be doing a discussion about labeling. And it's a pretty interesting topic, actually, because it affects just about everybody and has a lot to do with public safety. So that's our big thing. But here in Connecticut, we're actually building a new distillery. So we're under construction right now. I'm hoping to get going within a month or two. We've been under construction for a while, and so I'm going to be producing products. I've been apprenticing with Richard Seal for like 10 years. So I'm going to take all the learnings from that. I also did times. I went down and learned from some of the folks at Rhum Clément in Martinique. And Rhum Nissan, especially in Martinique. And then I'm applying all of that now to some new concepts, and we're going to develop new things and play around with it.
Amazing. Can you talk about what you're going to be doing, or is that top secret information?
It's still, it's not that it's top secret. It's just sort of still in flux. I'm really focused on the complexity of building a new distillery. It's a very complicated thing. It's the first distillery that I've built. But it's really great because I'm handling all the engineering side of it. I'm doing, I'm concerned with all the chemistry and the various processes that we're going to do to accomplish our goals. We're doing everything completely naturally, so we don't do any additives. There won't be any, people put things in fermentations to control them and things like that. If you're more on an industrial scale, we're going with the very traditional processes, all inspired by the time I've spent learning from Richard Seal.
Awesome. Very cool. How about the stills? Can you tell us anything about the still that you're going to have over there?
Yeah, I have a beautiful, this is a test facility. I'm going to show you a picture here. This is a test facility, so it's a small operation, but basically what we're doing is we have a double retort, custom-made double retort pot still from the Forsyth Company in Scotland, and here it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they custom made this for me. It's the traditional, Caribbean style pot still. If you know Scotch whiskey and things like that, they use two stills to do distillations. They have a wash still. It gets the spirit to about 35 degrees, 35%, and then you put it in a smaller spirit still, and that gets you up to a high ABV. And so in this case, we have two little retorts that do the same thing. So there's only about 6 of these types of stills that I know of left in the Caribbean. And so I wanted to kind of honor that tradition. So I brought, had Forsyths, who made the still for Richard Seal, make me a still. And we're setting it up in Connecticut.
Well, hopefully you can have us check that out once you get things rolling. So
Definitely. Yeah. Next year will be fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Right on. So let us take us into the world here.
Sure. So, alcohol labeling is a very interesting subject for me because I have a sulfite allergy that's pretty intense. So when I drink wines or various beverage alcohol that has sulfites in it, I have a very severe allergic reaction. And so it can even inhibit my ability to breathe. So I feel like I'm choking to death. So it's awful. And we have no system in the United States to put this kind of information on our beverage alcohol containers. You can't buy a box of cereal in the United States or any type of processed food. You can't buy a can of soda. You can't buy a jug of juice or milk without ingredients and serving facts listed on those on the packaging, on the bottles, and the boxes. In beverage alcohol, nothing has that requirement. So there's no beers, no wines, no spirits that are required to disclose their ingredients, or that they're required to disclose their serving facts, meaning how many carbs, calories, fat, things like that. So from our perspective, we've always looked at this as that being kind of a hole in the system. And we thought it would be really great if we could increase the transparency to our consumers, because people want to know what they're putting in their bodies. They care about what they're drinking. I think a lot of people drink less now than they did, a decade or two ago, but they drink better. And so, if you're going to have a cocktail, you want to have good stuff. And so I think that's important to a lot of people, especially people like vegetarians who are not informed that, especially in the wine industry, sometimes in the beer industry, they use what's called a clarifying agent. And clarifying agents will make a cloudy liquid appear clear. And so what they make clarifying agents out of are animal products. So it's made out of usually the dried intestines of fish and chickens are ground up into this powder, and they drop that in the huge vat of wine, and it will clarify the cloud, get rid of the clouds of stuff that are in the amino acids and things that are in the wine, and make it clear. because consumers have been trained to think that beers and wines all need to be clear, and spirits, and that's not actually the case, really, in nature. So, so they don't realize that vegetarians don't realize they're being given, food products in their wines. Sometimes they're beers, sometimes they're spirits. So I think it's important that we talk about these things because people have peanut allergies, they've got wheat allergies and gluten-related issues, they've got sulfite issues, and so on. None of this stuff is disclosed on any level in the beverage alcohol industry. So my wife Jennifer has really been the one to sort of spearhead this process for us, and it's been her goal to really get this information on our labels. And so we've spent 3 years trying to get labels approved in the United States that had serving facts and ingredients. And after 3 years, we finally got one. So this is actually the very first bottle of alcohol in the United States that's going to have, here we go, ingredients right here and serving facts on the label. And this has been approved by the TTB. So this is like a bellwether moment in beverage alcohol. This is our new limited edition that comes out this month. It's a 12-year new limited. We only did about 6,000 bottles of this, so it's going to be kind of a collector's item, I think. And the idea is that we disclose what we have in it. And if you look at our ingredients are rum and Barbados spring water. And
very complicated, hard to understand.
Yeah, but there are products out there that would have to have like a list of what is in there, what they're adding. So that's going to be difficult for people, and I understand there's going to be pushback against this, but I think it's a public safety issue more than anything. And like I've had margaritas before that literally I thought I was going to choke to death from the sulfites that were either in the spirit or in the mixer. Didn't see anything listed on the mixer, so I'm assuming for whatever reason they had sulfites in the spirit. So sometimes people use them for preservatives and other things, especially if you're adding something like sweeteners and stuff. So
questions for you.
Sure.
In terms of sulfites and things of that nature, I mean, do you have a ballpark range that you think, typical products out there, what percentage of those products might have some of those things?
In wine, it's very high because it's a preservative for wine. Wines and beers go bad in a relative period of time. Beer especially goes bad quickly within 6 months or so. Wines can have issues, so they use preservatives. And I'm not a wine expert by any stretch, but what I've learned over the years is that sulfite is a very, very common product that's added to wines, and so are clarifying agents and things like that. So the majority of the wines, I would guess, from the United States maybe are going to have some of that amount. I think there's less of it in the European wines. It literally takes one sip for me to know if there's any sulfite in that glass. If I get a glass of wine and I take a tiny little sip of it, I will immediately turn red all around here. On my ears will turn red, and I'll just start having this histamine reaction.
Wow.
And everybody at the dinner table, I'm like the canary in the coal mine. Everybody at the dinner table knows there's sulfite in the wine, so they all let Bailey sip it first and see what happens. So if I've found that the European wines, if they're using sulfites, they're using a smaller amount, and I'm not having the reaction from most of the European wines. But most of the California wines, I am having the reaction. So I don't know whether that's a cultural thing or whether it's some component of what's going on with water supply, and they need to balance out pH and other things, and they might use sulfites for that as an acid. I don't know. So or as a base, sorry. So the idea is to have this information disclosed, and we think it's a good idea. When you're talking to people about your serving facts, which you see right here, we show that there's 1.5 fluid ounces to a serving, which is the average in most cocktails, and that we have a serving of 122 calories for 1.5 fluid ounces. So it's like 60-something calories an ounce, or 70-something calories an ounce. But there's 0 carbs, 0 fat, and 0 protein. The one thing missing from this, the only thing the TTB wouldn't let us put on the label, was how many grams of sugar. And we, of course, have 0 grams of sugar because we don't add sugar. But the TTB would not allow us to put that on the label, which I thought was really bizarre. So we pushed back a little bit. We tried to get them to allow that, and they just said, we're not going to have that conversation because I think it opens up too much of a can of worms in the beverage alcohol industry. If Prosecco starts having to disclose how much sugar they're adding and things like that, people will freak out. So they let us get that far, and that's huge. That's like 90% of what we wanted to accomplish. So it was great. So I think that's a good starting point. And as time goes by, we want to try to push to get the sugar disclosed, because if you look at the FDA regulations and the FDA mandatories, they call it, on all the boxes of food, you have to say how much sugar's been added. So not quite yet in alcohol, but this is huge. This is a huge moment, and we want all the other producers out there who are also, want to have this kind of transparency for their consumers to please join us and do this, because, like Avua, you guys don't add anything to your products, and neither did Appleton or any of these guys, Richard Seal or all the Rum Clément and the Rum JM, and there's so many products out there that are really easy to get their information listed on their label. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate. There's going to be others where the disclosure will take up the entire back label probably. So
Right.
That's going to be hard for them to accept.
Right.
So, and I think we just take steps toward a more transparent world, more respectful of the consumers. They understand what they're drinking. They take pride in what's in the bottle. And so that's really important to us. And that's what we're trying to get across.
So with my Avwa hat, would love more information on that, because
Sure.
I think it's something that, we are excited to share that we're doing nothing
Sure.
with it, right?
Sure.
As you guys are. But kind of back to the 3-year process. So beyond what you mentioned in terms of added sugar as being a hurdle, what were the things that the TTB were hesitant about? How did that play out? How did those conversations go in terms of getting to this place now?
Sure. It was a very bizarre experience, I think, because the individual inspectors who work for the Tax and Trade Bureau, the TTB, that used to be called the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division, but they rebranded after Waco, Texas. So now they're the TTB. So
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I knew that.
So the TTB, the individual regulators that you might get assigned to, like you apply for your labels. The way it works is every alcohol has to take a rendering of their label and send it to the TTB and get approval. And the TTB looks and makes sure that all the font sizes are correct and that the background color isn't, so that so you can clearly see what the alcohol content is and what percentage of alcohol and all that kind of stuff is on there. So they regulate that process. And we started years ago by saying no added sugar right here on our label, if you can see that. So no added sugar was a huge no-no at first. And so we would get one regulator who would say, you can't put no added sugar on your label. And we say, but there is no added sugar. And so they then came back, and each one of these steps is like a month of delay before we get an answer and stuff. So they would come back and say, okay, you can put no added sugar on the label, but you have to put ingredients and serving facts on the back label if you're going to say no added sugar on the front. And we go, great. So we'd render all that up on the front and the back label. We'd send it in, get a different regulator who would then say, you can't put any of this stuff on the label. Absolutely not. I'm denying the whole label. And then you'd have to start over. And so then you come back a month later, you give them a new rendering, you get a third regulator who says, I'll allow the no added sugar, but you can't put ingredients and serving facts on the back. And so it was this sort of, red tape nightmare that went on for a very long time. And they're just trying to do their jobs. And I totally understand it. They're trying to protect the public. But there isn't a law right now that clearly defines exactly how this is supposed to be. So they have to be worried about, people doing different things that are trying to manipulate the system to their advantage, which I also totally, because people could say, well, how about if we just list, X, and we don't list all the stuff that we don't want anybody to know about? That's something that they're concerned with. So they don't have a uniform code, so it's hard for them to agree to anything we want to do. So we got through our 4th or 5th or 6th different person, they eventually allowed us to do the ingredients and servings facts, but we're not allowed to put no added sugar on the label. So it doesn't say no added sugar.
To remove that.
We had to remove that to get that, and we felt that was way more important.
Yeah.
Because if everybody starts doing that, then we're going to know who's got sulfites, and people like me won't have to go to the hospital after they take a sip of wine. So I think it would be a great thing if we could get everybody to band together and do what's right for the consumers.